like I have no idea what their life is like. We have no idea. So like we're making ideas of who they are based on what they show us, right?
Yeah. I want to touch upon something that we discussed in the last episode and maybe elaborate a little bit further because I feel like we touched the surface just a little bit on this one.
Yeah.
It's a fun time, I think, that was in our lives. When I talk about it, you'll know what I'm referencing.
Talk to me.
I got 2 words for you. A-listers.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Oh boy.
What do you think of when you think of the A-listers?
I mean, I think about lack of productivity. I think about like socializing, not much studying.
Not much studying.
A fun time.
It was fun though. It was fun.
For sure.
Okay, so to give context to the viewers, and we spoke about it, like I said, a little bit earlier, in the last episode, I mean. But, we were a group of, how many were we? It was
like
me,
4 or
you,
5?
we were 4 or 5 people.
Max,
okay,
yeah.
4 or 5 people. And essentially, we were all starting university. It was our first semester. We had no idea what we were doing. I mean, right? University, our first year.
I mean, I still don't know what I'm doing. So
You still don't know what you're doing, you see? But everything's new,
Yeah.
right? And we kind of bonded, and we all lived close to each other at the time. So that was very exciting. And we had a couple mutual classes.
Yeah, we were all like in the business program.
Not all the same professors, but the same courses.
Yeah.
And we had decided to set up this study group, and I say that in quotations for those of you who are listening to us, where we said, you know what, let's help each other out, right? The intentions were good.
Yeah, I mean the A-listers, right? We all thought we were gonna get A's. Like, that was the goal. So.
Who came up with the name? Do you remember?
Probably you, know?
Probably me. I don't know. Okay, we won't give credit to anyone just in case it wasn't one of us. But I think it's important to touch on this subject because though it was such a fun time for our first semester in university, we spoke about it in the last episode. We cut it short real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a one and done kind of thing, one semester, and we ended it. And I know
Was it one semester?
It was
that short?
I'm pretty sure it was one semester.
Okay, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay.
Because
what you're about to say has more impact now.
That's more impact. So it was one semester, and I remember saying at the end of that semester, oh my God, all I did with my time this year, these 4 months, was study. And why was that? Because when I was with the group, right, I was studying, once again, air quotations, okay?
Yeah.
Studying, what I meant by that is having a textbook open, but yapping with the person across the table about all that was going on in our lives, everything and anything but school. And then I was like, oh my God, like everyone's gone. I still didn't I don't feel more prepared for my exam. I didn't get any assignments advanced. So then when everyone would leave, then I would be actually doing work.
Like, now I have to do the work.
No, it was,
Or I'm gonna fail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I realized real quick, I cannot be a part of this anymore. I can't have all my time dedicated to this. And so I think it goes into an important subject where we talk about this, the Venn diagram where there's 3 circles and they kind of overlap. And they always say you can only have 2 of the 3, right? So in the case of school, it's school, good grades, sleep, and social. And it's well, pick 2 because you can't get all 3.
Yeah.
Right? And it kind of translates into our lives today where we're working, right? It's you want to work, you want to excel at work. Well, then sleeping and social, right? Which of the 2 are you going to pick? If you're picking social, then you're not sleeping.
Yeah.
If you're sleeping and social, then your work is going to get affected, right? So you can't have it all.
Yeah, I think you have to compromise at one point, right? It's if you like A's on your report card, but you don't like studying, then they don't go together, right?
It's a bit of an issue.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I think that's the main struggle of most people, right? Is how can I balance everything in my life?
Yeah.
Everyone's thinking I'm trying to maintain good physical health, my relationships, move up the corporate life, whatever you want to do, professional life, and it's I can't get anything going but the reality is you can't get everything going at once.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's really hard. It's if you do everything, it's almost doing nothing. You have to be putting effort into specific things to get something good out of those specific things. Whereas if you're putting 10% here, 10% there, 10% here, it's you're gonna get 10% out of everything.
Absolutely.
So you won't get much out of everything and anything. So it's just to the point that you have to compromise at one point. You have to pick your poison in a sense of all right, this is where I want to put my attention. Maybe it's not that much on socializing, but I'm advancing on personal things that I care about. And I think we see that a lot in like social media nowadays, you know, like you see everyone's highlight reels on social media and it makes you feel bad because you're like, wait, I'm struggling by like trying to balance everything in my life and I see these people winning in all aspects.
Right.
Or at least I think.
We think, and that's I think the key here. It's we think they're winning because to your point, it's a highlight reel. How many times you see someone on Instagram crying?
Rarely.
Exactly.
Very rarely.
You know?
And
if I see them crying, they're crying of happiness.
Yeah, they're like, you know, so but it's also like the type of content you consume. I think it's easy to consume everything and anything. And although like no one understands how the algorithm actually works on social media, but just know that if you watch certain things, you're gonna get pushed that thing.
Exactly.
So it's not, it doesn't take a long time for you to be pushed like the wrong things necessarily.
That's a good point.
And you get caught, and I'm victim of this for sure. Like I'm guilty, and like, you know, you're doom scrolling. It's 2 hours. You're on the couch scrolling, and you're like, wow, I didn't do anything today.
Yeah.
And then you kind of feel bad, but you also feel worse because you spent 2 hours watching people excel at things.
Right.
Or like, wow, their life is so much better than mine. They're doing so much. But you didn't see 99% of their day or their life, right? They could show you like 1% of their year.
I was just going to say, not even of their day. Of
the year, right? Like they had one accomplishment during the year, but the rest of the year was shit. Not to wish them harm or anything,
No,
but
of
it's
course
like
not.
you can't compare yourself to other people. And like you have to be, and I think that's hard to do. Like you have to be mindful of what you consume, and it's not to say that everyone wants to create things, but sometimes it's like create more than you consume.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And creating doesn't just mean like make videos. Like create something in your own life.
Of course.
Do something, you know. Like don't just sit on the side and watch other people like live life, which is questionable if they're actually living life, you know. And I feel like the conversation we're having now is also focusing a lot on like other people, when like it's never been about other people.
That's right. That's right.
Right? So social media is just what? It's just like a window shopping of like, I'm watching other people, I'm trying to figure out things about myself through other people, but it's like, it's not about them.
Yeah, and finding out things about them isn't necessarily going to help you find anything out about yourself, right?
No, because you think that like watching other people is like actually the same as trying it, which is not. No. Right? You could try it and love it. I could try it and hate it.
Yeah, of course.
And doesn't make me any better or worse than you.
Exactly.
Right? So
we're all different.
Yeah. So you've probably seen this on social media, but like these formulas for success. Wake up at 5 a.m., go to the gym, I don't know, isolate yourself type thing, and do this, do that, meditate, journal, all these things, right? That's quote unquote people say, if you want to be successful, you have to do these things. And then you're maybe waking up at 8 o'clock, having a coffee first thing, don't even drink water, go straight to your desk and work, and then you feel like, oh, I'll never amount to anything because this is my routine.
Right.
But maybe you're productive between 2 and 4 p.m. in the afternoon, whereas that person is productive 5 to 7 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Like everyone is different. So like social media is so toxic in that way because it's just comparing yourself to other people. You're just watching other people.
And I think, I mean, yes, it's toxic in some way. I think you need to know how to use it properly, right? Because even for us, right, we're doing a podcast, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, right? We're like, that's where we have our podcast. We're on YouTube as well, Spotify, all these platforms. But it's how do you avoid the, what did you call it? Doom scroll? I've never heard of that before.
You've never heard doom scroll?
I've never heard of that term.
Man.
I love that.
Doom scrolling.
I mean, I feel like it means exactly what it says, right? Like what I'm thinking it means is what it means.
Doom scrolling is just like you get caught in this loop of scrolling and you're like, you have to stop.
Yeah.
You keep going.
That's right.
All platforms now have become a kind of a segue to doom scroll. All platforms are starting to implement short form content.
Yes.
Which is quick, grab your attention.
Exactly.
Give them a hook, get them hooked on the thing. It's like maybe 20-second videos and you just keep going next. Oh, you don't like the first 1 second, next, you know? Like,
and doesn't it like automatically scroll to the next on some of the platforms?
Yeah.
So you don't even have to scroll. It just like goes to the next one.
Exactly. And then it's like, it'll start seeing, oh, you've watched X amount of time of this video.
Right.
Then they start pushing you more videos. So then you get caught in the loop. You never leave the app.
It's crazy, eh?
And I found myself doing that. I was like, wow, I feel terrible right now. I spent the last 2 hours on the app and I knew I had to get off midway and I just
Right.
kept going. I was like, I can't. That's what doom scrolling is.
And can I ask you, what type of content do you get fed? Like based on what you've watched, right? The algorithm. What are you consuming for the most part?
For the most part, right now, I'm consuming a lot of entrepreneurial stuff.
Okay.
Like I try to get some type of insight guidance through other people who have gone the entrepreneurial route, started their own businesses. So that's a lot of what I consume on YouTube. If it's on Instagram or more short form content, I'm following a lot of like creatives, filmmakers.
Okay.
I'm getting into the world of like getting better with my filmmaking skills, storytelling skills. So that's mostly the content I consume. But even if we're saying quote unquote that's good content, I still get caught in like, oh, but yeah, he's doing better than me. He's way better than me. He like even if it's content that quote unquote inspires me,
Yeah.
I'm still in this game of watching other people do the thing that I want to do
And comparing yourself.
and comparing
And
myself.
seeing the views they have and the quality of their videos
Yeah.
and all that, right?
And it's like that ties in maybe to like who I am, but I know that a lot of people feel that way. Like no matter what you do, there's always someone that's going to be better than you.
Yes, of
Right?
course.
So social media is just that. I feel like it just shows you who's better than you.
It's true, eh?
But you kind of lose that sight of like, okay, but this person might be doing this for like 10 years.
Yeah.
You just came into the game
Yeah.
and you're thinking you're going to be like him. It's great to be inspired, but that's why I think in this context for me it makes sense to say, okay, create more than you consume.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to consume, right? It's like doing research
Exactly.
in this area. But
Yes.
at one point, it's like watching people just show off their assets and like accomplishments is not necessarily doing research.
Well, you know what's crazy to me with all this is I feel like, I mean, we're not sharing a revolution here where we're watching people's highlights reels,
Yeah.
right? Like, I feel like most people that are on social media that are watching videos or short form content or long form, I mean, whatever it is, they know that they're watching someone's highlight reels.
Yeah.
But it's almost like we forget that.
Yeah, I was about to
And
say.
that's like, I'm victim of it too. And I don't understand, like, we are all conscious of this. And then we just forget it and we
Forget
feel
it.
bad about ourselves and we put ourselves down and we're like, why? Like, why is this person doing better than me? Like, I don't know what the mental, like, hook is with that or how, like,
Well, I think it's one thing to know it, but like you're not seeing it. Like you're not being shown. Like
Yeah,
because you're,
right.
You're also assuming in a way, right?
Right, that's
like,
true.
Like I have no idea what their life is like.
Mhm,
We have no idea. So like we're making ideas of who they are
Yeah.
based on what they show
Yep,
us, right?
yep.
So it's hard for me, even though I know, okay, we're all humans. We have bad days. We have good days, but I don't see those bad
Yeah.
days. So to me,
Right.
I can't. My brain can't comprehend what's actually happening for you. All I see is you winning. My brain associates you with like life is great, life is good. You're who I want to be.
That's a very good insight.
And I think now you see such a shift with like everyone is like, oh, I'm gonna do content. Like I want to do content. Like how many, especially I think for the younger generation, is like they step into this world of content
Yes.
at a young age.
At a young age, of course.
As a teenager, when I was a teenager, I was playing sports.
Yep.
I was outside. I had no idea what content was.
I didn't have social media till what? High school? After high school?
Late.
No, after high school, probably.
I don't even remember. The first thing I had was like Snapchat.
Oh, that was the first. Really? I think I
Or
started
fa-
on
no, sorry,
Facebook.
Facebook. Facebook.
No, wait. MySpace.
I've never had that.
What?
No.
You're in the MySpace era, though. Come on.
I was, but I never hopped on my.
MSN.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. So that was the MSN and MySpace for me. Was
Yeah, but those weren't like.
it wasn't the like advanced like it is now. Obviously.
Yeah, I
right?
feel like Instagram now is like kind of like a resume of like everyone just like look how good I am.
Mhm, yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like you know how like in an interview they might ask you what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses. I feel like Instagram's just like a window. Look at my strengths. Look at my strengths, which is why, especially more in the content world, it's interesting to see that example. The best example is like Gary Vee,
Yeah.
right?
Love Gary Vee.
Look how organic his content. Look the growth that he's had is because he's just real, right? People are like, "Whoa, this is new. This is
Right.
refreshing. Someone new." But like, that's just a human.
Yeah.
That's just him being him, right? I think people are tired of like the fake, like, look how good I am, look how beautiful I am, like the Photoshop, all that stuff. But like, people are tired of it, but it's still being fed, right? Like a lot of people still consume that content. So to your point of like, oh, I think people are aware. Like we all know, right? This is a highlight reel.
Yeah.
But what do we make of it, right? We still feel bad when we do.
It's a good point. It's a good point. And I think, and I don't know if you agree with me, but I feel like this whole sense of not looking as perfect on social media, like we see a lot more laid back content. I mean, look,
Yeah.
we're doing it ourselves, right? I think it kind of stemmed from the pandemic too, right? Where everyone was kind of at home and like we started seeing people working from home. They were working in their, their sweatshirts and with a cap on or whatever it is, right? And so we started kind of letting go of the image of perfection and how we appear on social media. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
I don't know. I was so disconnected during the pandemic.
Okay.
That was an interesting time for me. I was doing like my whole like shift into tech type thing. Like, yeah, it was a weird time. I'm not gonna lie. The pandemic was a weird time. I was so.
It was a weird time for a lot of people. Listen,
Yeah.
I don't think it was not weird for anyone.
But to the point that like I was so unaware of what was happening outside of like
Interesting.
that bubble. Like that's maybe a story for another time. But I felt so isolated like everyone else that like I wasn't even paying attention to like the social media stuff. Like nothing was going on.
Yeah,
Right? There's less focus on like who's doing what.
that's
when,
true.
where,
No one's
like,
doing anything.
No one's doing anything. So like
It's like that way.
I barely even had the instinct to go on social media because I was like, no one's doing anything.
That's right.
So it's like I don't know. It was a very weird time. I think we can all agree. But like I don't know how you experienced that time, but like I felt very disconnected.
I mean, I'm trying to think back. We're in 2024. When was the pandemic? 2020?
2020, 4 years,
Already 4 years, almost 5. I mean, 4.5.
4.5,
Almost. That's crazy since it
Yeah,
first started.
4.5.
What was I doing during the pandemic? I mean, that's when I had my whole fitness transformation. So I was
Yeah,
very,
yeah.
very focused on that. But other than that, yeah, I wasn't like, I'm trying to remember what I was doing. I was fortunate to keep my job. So that was one thing,
Yeah,
because I know
it was.
obviously a lot of people went through a hard time with that.
Yeah.
If not, I mean, it was really all about fitness. I was trying to take like socially distant walks with people, or like,
Oh my
but I
God,
wasn't
yeah.
even big on like the FaceTiming or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm trying to think like, what did I actually do with my time? I can't even pinpoint it.
I mean, that's the thing about like, if I look back, sometimes some things feel like a blur,
Yes.
and I attribute it
Yes.
to not being present. I was always.
Interesting.
I'm always thinking. I think I've gotten better at that, but like
Okay.
I've always been thinking like where am I gonna be in X amount of
Mm-hmm.
time? Like what do I have to do today to be there? But like I'm not actually living right now.
It's tough to live in the present.
It's very tough.
It's like, it's a work in progress for me.
It's very
Big
tough.
time.
But I think that what helped me was realizing that like whether we always say, oh yeah, we're young, we have all this time, but the truth is we don't have time.
We don't.
We really don't. Like look how fast 4 years just went by.
That's right.
Right? And I'm saying I have time, and I say, oh, I'll do what I want to do tomorrow or after tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But we won't do it tomorrow.
Yep.
We know we won't do it tomorrow. And then it's like, you think you have all this time, but you really don't. And it's like, yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. All you have is right now. So it's like, when's the best time to do this? Now.
Now, right now.
You
Yep.
don't have tomorrow. Like when I started actually like trying to live that way, I'm like, wow, I realized that I'm doing much more than I used to do.
Mm,
And my memory's much better.
interesting. Right, because you're present. You're
I'm-
more present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I stopped focusing on like outcomes and started enjoying the process, like what I have to do right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point, right? Because if I know tomorrow's not guaranteed and I actually enjoy today, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
For me, it's like mitigating regret, right? Time passes by, and then you're like, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. That's probably the worst thing, the worst type of pain you can feel.
That's true. That's true. And I'm segueing a little bit on a tangent, but you said something to me when we were talking on the phone the last time, and it so resonated with me. So and I don't want to go into obviously something too somber on our second episode, but it kind of ties into something you told me about death, right? So death is
Yeah.
inevitable for all of us, and
Yeah,
we're kind of
yeah.
talking about how tomorrow's not guaranteed and all that kind of stuff.
100%.
And I remember talking to you and saying, why do I even build all these strong connections with people knowing that one day they just maybe won't be here anymore, right? And doesn't that hurt you more when you've built these very strong connections with people. So heck, I might as well just not build too many strong connections with people so that I'm not as hurt, right? As a kind of protection, right?
Yeah.
And I was giving you the example of my grandfather. So I'm super close to my grandfather and I call him every single night. And it's become like a routine. And kind of we went from the pandemic, well, it started in the pandemic because we couldn't see each other. And calling him every single night now, I was telling you how, did I just like set myself up for more sadness
Absolutely
the
not.
day something happens? Because
Never.
what's going to happen that day when I can't call him anymore, right? And what did you say to me? You said exactly what you just said about regret.
Yeah.
You're better off doing it and you're going to know that you did it and you're going to be so happy you did it than living with the regret of, I should have been more
100%.
present. I should have called more.
Yeah.
And that to me really resonated. So I'm happy to hear you say it in our second episode because it had such an impact on me. And I was like, you know what? Jake is so right. And I hadn't looked at it that way. So super happy that it's come up today.
It's such a big thing, like mitigating regret. And I think that forces you to be present.
Absolutely.
Because you have to be aware of what you're doing, right?
Yep.
Like, it's easy to go through life not thinking twice about things. You end up 20 years, 30 years down the road and you're like, damn, I wish I really like would have done certain things at a certain time, right? So it's not when it's too late that it's the time to say, damn,
Totally.
I wish. So your reflection being like, oh man, am I like, I'm going to be really hurt. My grandfather passed away. Yeah, but you'll never regret all those times that you called him, that you spent with him.
Exactly.
And that goes for everything and anything, like anyone, right? Nothing is permanent. Like everything is temporary. All good things are temporary, all bad things are temporary. So it's the same thing. Like, let's say you go into a relationship, right, with a person. You have to live your life knowing that at any moment of time, this person could be removed from your life.
Right. And not just because they pass away, right? It
No.
doesn't have to be an end all be all, but I mean, there's a breakup, there's something happens, right? And you're no longer together.
100%. There's so many reasons why things could, move around. You lose things, you gain things.
Yep.
Like, so that's just living life with detachment. And that doesn't mean not caring. It just means that you appreciate things for what they are right now.
Today. Yeah, in this moment.
And not what you want them to be. You know how many people have this, especially with romantic relationships, they make this ideal image of their partner in their head that is not who is in front of them, and they live the relationship according to that ideal person they have in their head.
Yep.
Right?
Or the person someone used to be.
Or used
and
to
is
be.
no longer that person, but they hold on to who that person used to be, right?
Yeah. Because really, at the end of the day, all you have is yourself in this world. And, like, the only person you're stuck with is yourself. So everything around you is a bonus.
Yep.
And you have to be okay knowing that, like, okay, I'm going to appreciate things for what they are today in the present moment, but tomorrow they might not be there.
That's true.
Or tomorrow I might not be there. And if you start doing that, you're going to be able to really live in the present. Because like you said earlier, like, oh man, it's really hard to do in the present. It is hard to do because it takes a lot of reflection
And practice, I feel like.
and practice. 100%. First, it takes a lot of self-awareness.
Yes.
Yes. Especially, I know I bring it back to relationships a lot, but like, when you find yourself being too comfortable with your partner, that's an example of that. It's like you're banking on your partner being there tomorrow.
Right.
You're like,
That's a
oh,
good
too
point.
comfortable.
That's a very
We're
good
always chilling at the house. Oh, we're always watching movies. We're never doing things. Like you catch yourself being comfortable. Oh, you go maybe less to the gym or things like that, right? It's like, oh, okay, why? Why are you doing that? You're getting comfortable. You think that their presence is guaranteed, and the sad reality is that today they love you, tomorrow they might not.
And that's out of your control.
That's out of your control.
That is totally out of your control.
out of control.
I mean, sometimes you did an action, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times you can't control and you cannot predict it either, right? You don't know when that day is going to come, if it's going to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that ties into like, even beyond that might be, people can apply this to other stuff. Let's say a lot of people talk about, entrepreneurship versus the 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, 9 to 5 is much more stable. I agree.
Yes.
But tomorrow morning, your job can be taken away from you.
That's true.
Right? You think it's stable, but it might not be.
And look at the pandemic. We're on that topic today. The pandemic no one was expecting it. It came out of the blue. And what happened? Layoff upon layoff upon layoff.
Yeah.
I mean, the company I was working for at the time got hit as well with the layoffs, And it was tough to be spared of that. And if you
Yeah.
were spared of it, you were one of the quote unquote lucky ones, you know? So to your point that it can happen any day, nothing is guaranteed. We saw it. We lived it. I mean, pretty much all of us, if we're listening to this podcast, it's because we lived it during the pandemic, you know, and though whether you were in the workforce or not, you were either affected personally or you know someone who was.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that like it ties into also like reflection a lot when people talk about the past and like what do I feel about the past and things like that. It's like when people say healing the past, I think that's like such a vague term of like how you feel about past events. But like just what we're talking about now is that for myself, I'm able to like look back on a lot of past events and have such positive emotions tied to them.
Absolutely.
Because now you realize that, like, yeah, I appreciated those things while they're there. I knew they weren't permanent, but I really appreciated the time that I have those things. Even jobs that I hated.
Yeah.
That I hated.
Of course.
Like anything, jobs or weird friendships that I had, like anything. I'm like, wow, those actually served something in my life. I think that I grew through out of them. And now today, like, I think I wouldn't be who I am today without those situations.
It shapes you into who you are.
Yeah.
And it's when you go through something that's a little bit more difficult that you actually come out of it having learned so much more and having grown so much more. So I truly believe that everything and everyone is put on our path for a reason, whether it be positive or negative. And, you know, I had an old boss of mine who said to me, you know, quite often, Juliana, I try to find the good in everything. Because there is good in everything. There is good in everyone. In every situation, you can spin it around to find the good in it.
Yeah.
And the lesson that's going to come out of it. Because even if it's an interaction with someone it's constantly unpleasant, that interaction is going to teach you something that can have a positive impact for the future.
That is so like, that just screams the negativity bias.
Oh, yeah?
It's just like, no, you know how like as humans, I think we're all by nature we could have 99% of things go right.
Yes.
And that we focus on that 1%
100%
that didn't go right.
Yes.
You know, so it's just like to your old boss, what she's saying is just like, yeah, you can find good in everything, but people just choose to focus on the bad.
That's right.
Even if the bad is a minority.
That's right.
You know, so that is also something that you need to be mindful of.
Of course.
Right? And look, it's saying this as if it's easy, right?
I was just going to say, I've been in that situation and it's really tough.
Yeah.
I have focused on the one negative out of the 100 comments, let's say, 99 positive, one negative. I totally focused on the negative. 100%.
Oh.
And it's like, well, hello, do you not remember the 99 positive ones? No, I don't. In this moment, I do not remember them.
We're quick to forget. I don't know about
Yes.
you, but that ties into like, I don't know about your accomplishments in your life, but like, have you always taken the time to actually celebrate them?
I try to, but you know what? Life moves fast, like we're talking about, right? Like, and the days go by and the years go by, so probably not. Probably not.
That kind of touches on that, though.
And it does. And you know what I try to do now is celebrate the little things. Because the little things actually are not that little.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think it's important, and I have felt like an evolution in that as I've started on my, you know, journey of really focusing on myself and becoming the best version of myself and all of that kind of stuff and reading a ton of books. I've really started appreciating the small wins.
Like what's a small win for you?
A small win will literally be, I had an hour and a half today to go for a beautiful walk on a sunny day and listen to an audiobook without being disturbed. That to me is considered a win.
Yeah.
Because that's one of my favorite things to do.
Wow.
And when I get to do it, I actually appreciate it now. I don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
You know? And for me, that's something I'm like, nice. You know?
Yeah, I mean, what jumps to my mind through that is just like the topic of happiness. Like, it's just, you know, you're focusing on like the small things.
Yes.
You're going to find the joy, the happiness through small things, but like that's such a huge topic around like what people try to seek happiness in other things and they get lost in like all the external stuff. That is such a huge topic that I want to touch on in our next episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because this is
extrinsic versus intrinsic, right?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
you're making reference to.
100%.
And the motivational factors and 100%. I think we could dedicate a whole episode to that probably.
Yeah. This is another packed episode today. Like honestly, some great stuff. We went more into detail. I found in like some some topics that we touched on in episode 1.
Absolutely.
But no, the topic of happiness is such a huge one that like I could dedicate 2 episodes just to that. So
Should I hold you to that, Jake?
you can. I could yap and I could talk your ear off for a long time. So
I love it.
yeah, we'll wrap this episode up.
Cool.
And yeah, we'll post our socials
Okay.
soon
Absolutely.
for the podcast listeners. So everyone, give us a follow on those, and we'll see you in the next episode.
We'll see you next time. We hope you like this one, and leave us any comments, feedback. We'd love to hear
some
it.
feedback, some comments, topics you guys want us to talk about.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
And yeah, see you in
Okay.
the next episode.
All right. Bye.